Hi, guys. Tonight, we begin a journey into a world that exists in the quiet spaces between the golden sands of time and the eternal flow of the Nile. We're going back to an era when the night wasn't just a period of rest, but a canvas for the most brilliant mind of antiquity to paint a legacy that would never fade. Before we step into the cool, incense-filled halls of the Alexandrian palace, I would love it if you just take a moment to subscribe to this channel and give this video a like. It truly helps these peaceful stories reach those who are searching for a bit of quiet in a loud world. And I'm so curious. Where are you right now as you listen to my voice? Are you nestled under a warm blanket, or perhaps watching the moonlight dance on your wall? What time is it in your part of the world? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one, and connecting with you in these quiet hours means a lot to me. Now, let the tension leave your shoulders. Let your breath find its natural, easy rhythm. Settle in. Let's talk about the beginning of the end of an era. Close your eyes and imagine you are standing on a balcony overlooking the great harbor of Alexandria. The year is 51 BCE. The air is soft, carrying the faint, sweet scent of lotus blossoms and the salt of the Mediterranean Sea. Below you, the city is beginning to exhale. The chaotic energy of the marketplace has died down, replaced by the rhythmic lapping of waves against the limestone docks. In this quiet hour, a young woman sits alone by a flickering oil lamp. Her name is Cleopatra. She is only 18, yet the weight of 3,000 years of pharaonic history rests upon her young shoulders. Can you feel the stillness of that room? The walls are lined with scrolls, thousands of them, containing the wisdom of poets, mathematicians, and astronomers. She isn't just a queen in waiting, she is a scholar of the night. As you drift deeper into relaxation, imagine the soft glow of her lamp, casting long, gentle shadows across the marble floor. Cleopatra isn't looking at jewels or crowns tonight. She is looking at the stars. She knows that her father, the Pharaoh, is fading, and the kingdom she loves is teetering on the edge of a great storm. Rome is watching. The shadows of the Great Republic are stretching across the sea, cold and hungry. But Cleopatra, she doesn't tremble. She breathes in the cool night air, and she prepares. Think about the silence of a palace that has seen centuries of rise and fall. The stone under your feet is ancient, cool to the touch. Every pillar, every statue of a cat-headed goddess, seems to be holding its breath with her. This is the moment before the world changes. The moment before a young girl becomes the most powerful woman the world has ever known. As we linger here, in this portal to the past, feel yourself becoming part of the atmosphere. You are not just a listener, you are a traveler. You are safe here, in the transition between the modern world and the ancient sands. The light of the Pharos lighthouse, one of the wonders of the world, flashes rhythmically in the distance. A steady, comforting pulse. On and off. On and off. Cleopatra moves to the window. Her silk robes make a soft, shushing sound against the floor, like the wind through desert grass. She looks out at the Nile, that dark, silver ribbon of life that has sustained her people since the dawn of time. She understands something that others do not. Power isn't just about armies, it's about the stories we tell, and the quiet wisdom we gather when the rest of the world is sleeping. Tonight, we are going to gather that wisdom with her. We are going to walk through the secret corridors of her heart and the grand halls of her ambition. But there is no rush. Time has no meaning here. We have all the time in the world to explore the textures of her life. The ink on her desk is still wet. She has been writing in the language of her people, a language her ancestors refused to speak. But she is different. She is a bridge between the Greek stars and the Egyptian earth. Can you hear the distant sound of a sistrum? A soft, metallic rattle used in the temples of Isis, calling the gods to watch over the sleeping city. It is a soothing sound, a reminder that even in times of great change, there is a rhythm that remains constant. Cleopatra leans her head against the cool stone window frame. She is ready. The portal is open. The journey from the quiet library of her youth to the thrones of empires is about to begin. But for now, just stay here with me, in this peaceful, ancient night. Feel the weight of the history around you, supportive and heavy, like a thick, velvet quilt. You are drifting, floating on the surface of the Nile, moving slowly with the current. The water is dark and deep, carrying the memories of 1,000 pharaohs. And as we move forward into the story of her legacy, you find yourself becoming heavier, more relaxed, more at peace. The story of Cleopatra is not a loud one tonight. It is a whisper, a secret shared between the stars and the sand. Let's step through the portal together, into the light of the ancient sun and the wisdom of the last queen of Egypt. Now, let us drift back even further, beyond the life of Cleopatra herself, into the shadows of her ancestors. Close your eyes and imagine the cold, rugged mountains of Macedonia, a land of mist and iron, thousands of miles away from the warm sands of Egypt. This is where her story truly began, not in a palace of gold, but in the heart of a warrior. The air here in the past is different. It's crisp, smelling of pine needles and ancient rain. Can you see him? A man named Ptolemy. He was a childhood friend of Alexander the Great. They grew up together, dreamed together, and eventually, they conquered the world together. When Alexander's life flickered out like a candle in the wind, the world was left in darkness. His generals, the Diadochi, stood around his empty throne, their hearts filled with a mixture of grief and a cold, sharp ambition. They began to carve up the map of the world, like tailors cutting a vast, silk cloth. But while others fought over the dusty plains of Asia, Ptolemy had his eyes on a different prize. He looked toward the south, toward the Nile, toward the eternal mystery of Egypt. Imagine the long journey from the battlefields of the north to the sun-drenched delta. The sound of thousands of sandals marching in the sand, a rhythmic, hypnotic thud, thud, thud. Ptolemy didn't just want to conquer Egypt, he wanted to become part of it. He brought with him the body of Alexander himself, encased in a coffin of gold and honey, a sacred relic to legitimize his new reign. As you listen, feel the transition of the climate. The biting chill of Macedonia fades away, replaced by the dry, baking heat of the Sahara. Ptolemy I became the first of the Greek pharaohs. He sat on the throne of the ancient gods, wearing the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt, but in his heart, he remained a Macedonian. For 300 years, the Ptolemies lived as strangers in a strange land. They built a wall of language and culture around themselves. Within the palace walls of Alexandria, they spoke only Greek. They read Greek poetry, they worshipped Greek gods, and they married within their own bloodline to keep their Macedonian spark pure. Can you hear the echo of Greek flute music drifting through the Egyptian night? It is a lonely sound. A melody of home played in a land that was never truly theirs. They were the lords of the two lands, but they were also ghosts of a fallen empire, clinging to the memory of Alexander's glory. Think about the generations that followed. Ptolemy II, Ptolemy III, name after name, repeating like a mantra, each one building upon the last. They built the great library, they built the Pharos, they turned Alexandria into the jewel of the world. But as the centuries passed, the Greek fire began to dim. The dynasty grew heavy with wealth, and weary from internal strife. By the time we reach Cleopatra's father, Ptolemy XII, the echoes of Macedonia had become faint. The family was now entangled in the web of Rome. They were no longer conquerors, they were clients, paying enormous sums of gold to the Roman Senate just to keep their crowns. Imagine the palace at night during this time. The marble floors are still beautiful, but there are cracks in the foundation. The gold leaf is peeling from the statues. The air is heavy with the scent of expensive wine and anxiety. This was the world Cleopatra was born into. A world of fading echoes. But she was different. While her brothers and sisters dreamed of the past, she looked at the present. She listened to the ancient stones of Egypt. She realized that to save her dynasty, she couldn't just be a daughter of Macedon. She had to become the daughter of the Nile. Feel the weight of those 300 years of history pressing down on you. It's not a heavy weight, but a comforting one. Like a thick tapestry being woven around your senses. The stories of the Ptolemies are like the layers of silt at the bottom of the river. Deep, dark, and full of forgotten secrets. As the stars shift over the Mediterranean, the Greek names begin to blend with the Egyptian titles. The Macedonian iron has turned to Egyptian gold. The dynasty is tired. It is ready for a final, brilliant spark, before the sun sets forever on the age of the pharaohs. You are drifting now, further away from the mountains of the north, and deeper into the heart of the Egyptian night. The sound of the Macedonian flutes is being drowned out by the deep, low hum of the desert wind. It's a soothing sound. A sound that tells you that everything is part of a cycle. The rise and fall of kings, the changing of the seasons, the closing of your eyes. Cleopatra is the bridge between these two worlds. She carries the blood of the Macedonian generals in her veins, but she carries the spirit of Isis in her heart. She is the culmination of 3 centuries of longing, of power, and of survival. Let the history wash over you. You don't need to remember the dates or the names. Just feel the atmosphere. The cool marble, the distant incense, the rhythmic flow of time. You are safe in the hands of the past. The echoes of Macedon are growing quieter now. The story is moving forward, into the light of a new day, and the brilliance of a queen who would finally bridge the gap between the two. But for now, just breathe. In and out. In and out. The sands are shifting. The night is deep. And you are exactly where you need to be. Ow, let us leave the battlefields and the dusty records of ancestors behind, and step into the quietest, most sacred space in all of Alexandria. Imagine a room where the walls are not made of stone, but of knowledge. The Great Library. As you enter, the air becomes cooler, stiller. It smells of dried papyrus, old cedar wood, and the faint, lingering scent of beeswax candles. This was Cleopatra's true kingdom. While other princesses might have spent their nights dreaming of silk and jewelry, Cleopatra spent hers here, under the soft, golden light of an oil lamp. Can you see her? A young girl, surrounded by towering shelves of scrolls, each one containing a secret of the universe. In this space, time doesn't exist. There is only the soft, rhythmic sound of pages turning. Close your eyes and feel the texture of that papyrus under your fingertips. It's slightly rough, warm, and holds the wisdom of 1,000 years. Cleopatra's mind was like a vast, calm ocean, absorbing everything it touched. She didn't just read, she listened to the voices of the past. She studied the stars, those silent guides in the Egyptian sky. She learned the paths of the planets, the language of mathematics, and the hidden properties of herbs and medicines. Think of her mind as a garden, being slowly, carefully, tended in the dark of the night. Every word she learned was a seed. Every language she mastered was a key to a different world. Most of her family looked at the Egyptian people from a distance, through the windows of their carriages. But Cleopatra, she wanted to hear their hearts. She became the first of her line to learn the native tongue, the ancient, lyrical language of the Nile. Imagine her practicing the sounds in the quiet of her study, the soft gutturals, the poetic rhythms. By the time she was a woman, she could speak to the world in 9 different languages: Ethiopian, Troglodyte, Hebrew, Arabic, Syrian, Median, Parthian. To her, language wasn't just a tool, it was a bridge. A way to reach across the void and touch the souls of her subjects and her enemies alike. As you drift further into relaxation, think about the sheer power of that intellect. It was a quiet power. It didn't need to shout. It was the power of a strategist who could see 10 moves ahead, like a grandmaster at a chessboard made of marble and gold. The philosophers of the museum would sit with her, their long robes rustling as they debated the nature of the soul and the movement of the tides. They didn't see a child, they saw a peer. They saw a mind that was as sharp as a Roman sword, but as flexible as a lotus stem in the water. Can you hear the distant, muffled sound of the city outside? The carts on the cobblestones, the shouting of the sailors. But in here, in the heart of the library, everything is muffled. Everything is soft. The knowledge protects her. It wraps around her like a protective cloak, shielding her from the chaos that is coming. Cleopatra knew that beauty would fade, but a mind like hers would remain eternal. She was preparing herself not just to rule, but to survive. She understood that in the world of men, her greatest weapon would be her wit, her voice, and her ability to understand the motivations of others before they even understood them themselves. Feel your own mind becoming like that library. Quiet, organized, peaceful. All the thoughts of the day are being placed back on their shelves. They are being tucked away, safe and still. You are left with only the sound of my voice and the imaginary glow of that ancient lamp. The inkwell sits on her table, a dark, silent pool of potential. She dips her reed pen into it, and the scratching sound against the papyrus is like a tiny, rhythmic heartbeat. Writing the future. Planning the impossible. She was a polymath in a crown. A scientist who happened to be a queen. And as we linger in this chapter of her life, let yourself appreciate the beauty of a quiet mind. There is no rush to get to the battles. There is no hurry to reach the tragedy. For now, we are just here, in the golden age of her education. The stars outside the library window are beginning to shift. The night is at its deepest point. The shadows are long and comforting. Cleopatra closes her final scroll for the night. The sound of the wooden rods clicking together is the only noise in the room. A task completed. A mind ready. You are like that closed scroll now. Full of your own stories, but ready to rest. Ready to be still. The wisdom of Alexandria is surrounding you, whispering that you are safe, that you are knowledgeable, and that you are at peace. Breathe in the scent of the ancient scrolls one last time. Feel the coolness of the marble library floor in your mind. And let yourself sink deeper into the cushions of the past. The journey continues, but the mind is already at rest. Safe. Still. Ancient. Now, let us leave the silent halls of the library and move out into the soft, twilight air of the city itself. Close your eyes and imagine the streets of Alexandria, not as a place of commerce, but as a place of connection. The sun has dipped below the horizon, leaving a trail of violet and deep indigo across the sky. And in this half-light, we find a queen who did something no one before her dared to do. She learned to speak the language of the earth. For generations, the Ptolemies had stayed behind their marble walls, looking out at Egypt as if it were a beautiful, distant painting. They spoke the sharp, rhythmic Greek of their ancestors, while the people of the Nile spoke a language as ancient as the pyramids themselves. But Cleopatra, she felt the silence between the ruler and the ruled. And she decided to break it. Can you hear it? The sound of her practicing the ancient Egyptian tongue in the quiet of her chambers. It is a language of the wind, of the water, of the birds in the reeds. She mastered the soft, flowing sounds, the deep, resonant vowels that had been whispered in the shadow of the Sphinx for 3,000 years. She was the first. The very first of her line, to wrap her Greek tongue around the sacred words of the pharaohs. As you drift deeper into relaxation, imagine Cleopatra walking through a village along the Nile, dressed not in the heavy gold of a monarch, but in simple, fine linen. She approaches a group of farmers, men whose hands are stained with the dark, rich silt of the river. They look down, expecting the cold, distant commands of a foreign queen. But then, she speaks. She speaks to them in their own words. She asks about the harvest. She asks about the rising of the water. Imagine the moment of stunned silence, followed by a wave of warmth that spreads through the crowd. It wasn't just the words, it was the respect. The recognition that they were seen. That they were heard. In that moment, she wasn't just a queen from a faraway palace. She was their queen. She was the voice of the people. Feel the rhythm of that connection. Like a slow, steady pulse. She didn't stop at Egyptian. Her mind was like a prism, catching the light of every culture that touched her borders. When the merchants from the Red Sea arrived, she spoke to them in the languages of the south. When the emissaries from the desert tribes came, she answered them in their own guttural, beautiful dialects. 9 languages. Imagine the tapestry of sounds inside her head. A symphony of human experience. To her, a language was a map to a person's soul. She knew that if you speak to a man in a language he understands, it goes to his head. But if you speak to him in his language, it goes to his heart. Think of the peace that comes with being understood. As you lie there, let the tension melt away, just as the barriers between Cleopatra and her subjects melted away. You are in a space where there are no misunderstandings. No confusion. Only a clear, calm flow of thoughts. The air in the evening is still. The sound of a distant drum, soft and low, echoes across the water. Cleopatra sits on the deck of her royal barge, listening. She listens to the songs the sailors sing as they haul the nets. She listens to the prayers the priests chant in the temples. She is like a mirror, reflecting the beauty of her entire kingdom back to itself. She understood that power is not found in the sharpness of a sword, but in the softness of a voice. She could negotiate with a Roman general in the morning, using the cold, precise logic of Latin, and by evening, she could comfort a grieving mother in the streets of Memphis, using the poetic, ancient words of the ancestors. Can you feel the weight of that responsibility? It is a gentle weight, like a hand resting on a shoulder. Cleopatra was the bridge. She stood between the old world and the new, between the Greek mind and the Egyptian spirit. And as she spoke, the people began to believe again. They believed in the divinity of the crown, because they could finally hear the crown speaking to them. As the night grows deeper, the voices of the city begin to fade, one by one. The market stalls are closed. The lanterns are dimmed. But the echo of her voice remains. A whisper in the reeds. A song in the desert wind. I see you, she says. I hear you. You are mine, and I am yours. Let yourself be carried by that sense of belonging. You are part of this history. You are part of this peace. The world is vast and full of different tongues, but tonight we only speak the language of rest. The Nile continues its slow, inevitable journey toward the sea. The stars continue their silent dance across the sky. And you are drifting now, floating on a river of soft sounds and gentle intentions. Cleopatra has spoken, and the world is at peace. Her voice is the last thing you hear before the silence of sleep takes over. A voice that is wise, kind, and infinitely patient. Sleep now, knowing that the bridge has been built. The connection is made. The night is yours. The silence is yours. Now, let us take a deep breath and feel the air grow a little cooler, a little sharper. We are moving into a time of shadows, a time when the gold of the palace began to lose its luster. Imagine the grand corridors of the royal residence in Alexandria, where the footsteps of the guards echo against the marble walls, a steady, rhythmic, metallic sound. But beneath that rhythm, there is a whisper of tension. A kingdom, divided against itself. Cleopatra was now a young queen, but she was not alone on the throne. Beside her sat her younger brother, Ptolemy the 13th. Can you picture them? Two siblings, heirs to a 1,000-year-old legacy, sitting on thrones that felt far too large for them. Outside, the Nile continued to flow, but inside the palace, the currents were changing, becoming treacherous and deep. As you settle deeper into your pillows, imagine the flickering torchlight in the great hall. The shadows dance across the faces of the advisors, men with quiet voices and long memories. They did not want a queen with a brilliant mind. They did not want a pharaoh who spoke the language of the people. They wanted a puppet, someone they could control, like a piece of driftwood on the water. The tension in the palace was like a string pulled too tight. Cleopatra found herself surrounded by people who smiled with their lips, but whose eyes remained cold as the stone statues of the gods. Her brother, still a child, was being whispered to, his mind being turned against the sister who had shared his childhood. Power is a strange thing. It can turn gold into lead, and love into a memory. Feel the weight of the silence in the royal chambers. Cleopatra knew she was being watched. Every word she spoke, every decree she signed, was being weighed and measured by those who plotted her downfall. And then, the storm finally broke. A coup, swift and silent as a desert cobra. In the middle of a moonless night, Cleopatra was forced to flee her own city. Can you hear the soft splash of oars in the dark water? The muffled sounds of a small boat slipping away from the harbor? She looked back at Alexandria, at the great Pharos lighthouse casting its long, lonely beam across the sea. Her home was receding, becoming a silhouette against the stars. She was no longer a queen in a palace. She was a wanderer in the desert. Imagine the vastness of the Syrian desert where she sought refuge. The night sky there is wider than you can ever imagine. The stars look like spilled diamonds on black velvet. There is a profound silence in the desert, a silence that teaches you how to listen to your own heart. Cleopatra sat by small campfires, the orange flames reflecting in her eyes. She was exiled, but she was not broken. As you drift closer to sleep, feel the stillness of the desert night. It is a peaceful kind of solitude. Even in her darkest hour, Cleopatra was a strategist. She watched the horizon, waiting for the right moment, the right wind, the right ally. She was gathering an army of those who were still loyal to her, men who believed in the daughter of the Nile. The world thought she was finished. Rome looked at Egypt and saw a fractured house, a weakened prize ready to be taken. But they did not know the woman who was sitting in the desert sand, tracing maps in the dust with her finger. She was not just waiting, she was preparing to reclaim her destiny. Think of the patience it takes to wait in the shadows. Like a seed deep in the earth, waiting for the first drop of rain. Cleopatra knew that a kingdom divided cannot stand, but she also knew that she was the only one who could mend the cracks. Her mind remained clear, a calm lake in the middle of a sandstorm. Can you hear the distant howl of a desert fox? The rustle of the wind through the dry scrub? These were her companions now. No more music of flutes, no more debates with philosophers. Only the raw, honest language of survival. And in that solitude, she found a new kind of strength. A strength that didn't come from a crown, but from within. You are safe here, in the quiet of this transition. Just as Cleopatra found peace in the desert night, you can find peace in this moment. The chaos of the world is far away. The divisions and the tensions are fading into the background. There is only the rhythm of the night and the steady, slow journey toward the dawn. Cleopatra is looking at the stars tonight, the same stars you see. They are ancient, eternal, and they tell us that every exile eventually comes to an end. Every night eventually turns to day. Let the desert winds carry away your worries. Let the silence of the great sand sea fill your room. You are drifting, moving toward a place of restoration. The queen is waiting. The history is unfolding. And the story is just beginning to breathe again. Sleep now, in the quiet spaces between the chapters. The desert is still. The kingdom is waiting. And you are at rest. Now, let us turn our gaze away from the desert fires for a moment, and look toward the west. Across the turquoise waters of the Mediterranean, a shadow was growing. A long, heavy, and unstoppable shadow. It was the shadow of Rome. Close your eyes and imagine the sound of thousands of iron-shod boots, marching, 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 across the cobblestones of Europe. A rhythmic, metallic, relentless heartbeat. Rome was no longer just a city of marble and law. It had become a living creature, a titan with an insatiable hunger for land, for gold, and for glory. And now, its cold, calculating eyes were fixed upon the wealthy, sun-drenched shores of Egypt. Can you feel the shift in the air? The warmth of the Nile meeting the chilling wind of a Roman winter. As you sink deeper into your bed, imagine the Roman Senate, a place of white stone and sharp whispers. Here, men like Julius Caesar, Pompey the Great, and Crassus moved pieces across a map of the world as if it were a game of Latrunculum. Egypt was the most glittering piece of all. It was the breadbasket of the world, the land of eternal grain, and the last great kingdom of the East that remained independent. But for how much longer? Cleopatra, sitting in her lonely exile, could feel the ground trembling under the weight of Rome's expansion. She knew that the old world was fading. The age of the independent pharaohs was being swallowed by the age of the Roman legions. Think of a great forest being overtaken by a rising tide. She understood that to survive, she could not fight the tide. She had to learn how to sail upon it. The shadow of Rome wasn't just a military threat. It was a cultural storm. Rome brought with it a new kind of power, one based on cold efficiency, rigid discipline, and a ruthless desire for order. It was the opposite of the poetic, mystical, and ancient soul of Egypt. And yet, Cleopatra saw a bridge. A dangerous, fragile, but necessary bridge. Imagine the silence of a Roman camp at night. The red glow of the watchfires, the scent of oiled leather and sharpened bronze. Somewhere in that camp, a man named Julius Caesar was reading reports about a young queen who had been cast out of her own city. He was a man who appreciated intellect, who admired ambition, and who was always looking for the next great story to write in the history books. The shadow was moving closer now. Pompey the Great, defeated in the Roman civil wars, had fled to the shores of Egypt, seeking sanctuary, only to find a violent end. And Caesar, pursuing his rival, was now arriving at the harbor of Alexandria. Can you hear the sound of the Roman anchors splashing into the Egyptian water? A heavy, final sound. The world was changing, right there, in the reflection of the Mediterranean waves. Cleopatra knew that this was her moment. The shadow of Rome could either crush her, or it could become her shield. In the quiet of the night, she began to weave a plan. A plan that was as much a work of art as it was a political gamble. She didn't have an army to match Caesar's legions, but she had a mind that could navigate the corridors of his ambition. As you drift further into relaxation, feel the stillness of the palace once more. The Roman soldiers are now walking the halls where pharaohs once stood. The sound of their heavy armor is a foreign intrusion into the soft, musical silence of Alexandria. Cleopatra is preparing to step into that shadow, not as a victim, but as an equal. Think about the courage it takes to face a storm. It's not a loud courage, but a quiet, steady, inner flame. The shadow of Rome is dark, yes, but it is also full of possibilities. And Cleopatra, with her 9 languages and her library of knowledge, was ready to speak the one language the Romans understood best, the language of power. You are safe here, far away from the clash of empires. Let the history flow over you like a gentle stream. The tensions of Rome and the mysteries of Egypt are blending together now, creating a tapestry of deep blues and charcoal grays. There is no need to worry about the outcome. The story has already been written in the stars. The night is long, and the shadow is comforting in its depth. It's like a heavy blanket that tucks you in, keeping the world outside. Let your thoughts drift like a Roman galley on a calm sea, moving slowly, peacefully, toward the horizon. Caesar is waiting in the palace. The torches are burning low. And somewhere, in the darkness, a queen is moving toward her destiny. But for now, just breathe. In and out. In and out. The shadow is not a threat tonight. It is a place of rest. A place of quiet transition. Sleep now, as the two greatest powers of the ancient world prepare to meet. The world is holding its breath, and you are letting yours go. Into the silence. Into the peace. Into the history. Now, let the world outside your room dissolve into the deep indigo of an ancient night. We are standing on the edge of the Mediterranean once more, but the air is different now. It is thick with anticipation, and the scent of the sea is mingled with the faint, smoky aroma of distant torches. We are about to witness one of the most daring and most beautiful gambles in all of human history. Imagine the harbor of Alexandria, where the water is as dark as obsidian, reflecting the cold, distant stars. Cleopatra is no longer in the desert. She has returned, a shadow moving through shadows. She knows that the Roman general, Julius Caesar, is staying within the royal palace. But the city is a labyrinth of enemies. Her brother's guards are everywhere, their spears glinting in the moonlight. To enter the palace openly would be to invite death. But Cleopatra, she does not think of death. She thinks of the entrance. A velvet entrance into the heart of power. As you sink deeper into the soft embrace of your bed, imagine a small, unremarkable boat, slipping through the harbor waves. There is no sound but the rhythmic, gentle, slap, slap, slap of the water against the wood. Inside the boat, Cleopatra sits with a single trusted friend, Apollodorus. Between them lies a large, heavy bundle. A sack, or perhaps a decorative rug, rolled tight and bound with leather cord. Can you feel the stillness of that boat? The way the cool mist from the sea clings to your skin? To the guards at the palace gates, they are just a merchant and his servant, bringing a gift of fine textiles to the Roman general. They do not know that inside that bundle, wrapped in layers of fabric and silence, lies the Queen of Egypt. Think of the darkness inside that roll of velvet. It is a warm, confined space. Cleopatra can hear nothing but the muffled sound of footsteps and the steady, slow beat of her own heart. Thump, thump, thump. She is a prisoner of her own design, waiting for the moment when the world will be laid at her feet. It is a moment of pure, absolute patience. Feel your own body becoming like that bundle, wrapped in the soft layers of your blankets, protected from the world outside. You are still. You are safe. You are waiting for nothing but the peace of sleep. Inside the palace, the air is heavy with the scent of roasted meat and Roman wine. Caesar is alone in his study, a man who has seen everything, a man who thinks the world has no more surprises for him. He hears the door creak open. He sees a merchant enter, carrying a heavy load upon his shoulder. Apollodorus lays the bundle down upon the marble floor. The sound is a dull, soft thud. And then, the unrolling begins. Imagine the sound of the leather cords being cut. Snip, snip. and the slow, rhythmic rustle of the fabric as it begins to unfurl across the floor. Layer after layer of colored wool and silk, spinning out like a dream. And then, from the center of the velvet, she rises. She does not rise like a warrior, but like a vision. Disheveled, perhaps. Catching her breath, certainly. But her eyes are bright with the fire of 1,000 suns. Caesar, the man who conquered Gaul, the man who defied the Senate, finds himself unable to speak. The room is silent, except for the crackle of the hearth and the distant, muffled sound of the sea. In this moment, the destiny of Rome and Egypt is fused together. It is a meeting of two master architects. Two minds that recognize each other across the boundaries of culture and age. Cleopatra doesn't ask for mercy. She offers a partnership. She speaks to him in his own Latin, her voice a low, melodic instrument of persuasion. "I am the kingdom you seek," her presence says. "And you are the key to my throne." As you drift closer to the edge of sleep, think about the power of that first encounter. It wasn't about the beauty of her face, but the beauty of her courage. The sheer, breathtaking audacity of her entrance. The velvet rug lies discarded on the floor, a discarded skin of her former life. She is a queen again. The palace is quiet now. The guards outside have no idea that the world has shifted. The shadows on the wall move slowly as the fire burns down to embers. Cleopatra and Caesar talk late into the night. Their voices are a soft, continuous murmur, like the sound of wind through the colonnades. They are planning a new world, while the old world sleeps. Let that murmur soothe you. It is a sound of safety. A sound of secrets shared in the deep of the night. You are drifting now, further and further away from the palace, back into the darkness of the harbor, back into the silence of the stars. The velvet is soft. The night is long. And the journey has reached a place of rest. Cleopatra has made her entrance. The gamble has been won. And the history of the world has been changed by a single, quiet roll of a rug. Breathe in the peace of that victory. Breathe out the tension of the day. You are unrolling now, letting go of your worries, letting go of your thoughts. Just a soft, rhythmic, unfolding into the dark. Into the sleep. Into the dream. The night is waiting for you. And you are ready. Now, let the world outside your window fade into a distant memory, as we return to the soft, golden light of the Alexandrian palace. We are entering a season of quiet alliance, a time when the sharp edges of the world were softened by the presence of two extraordinary minds. Imagine the inner sanctum of the royal chambers, where the heavy silk curtains dampen the sound of the Mediterranean waves. Here, the queen and the Roman consul, Julius Caesar, sit in the stillness of the night. It is a meeting not just of leaders, but of souls who have finally found an equal. As you sink deeper into the comfort of your bed, feel the cool, steady air of the palace. Caesar, a man whose life has been a relentless drumbeat of war and politics, finds a strange, new peace in Cleopatra's presence. She does not speak to him of conquests or tributes. Instead, she speaks of the stars. She speaks of the way the Egyptian sky tells a story of eternity, a story that makes the ambitions of Rome seem like small, flickering candles in a vast, dark hall. Can you hear the low, rhythmic murmur of their conversation? It is like the sound of a gentle stream flowing over smooth pebbles. Cleopatra's voice, that many-stringed instrument, weaves a tapestry of history and science around the Roman general. She shares with him the secrets of the Egyptian calendar, the wisdom of the solar year, and the mathematical precision of the pyramids. Caesar listens, his hardened heart softening like wax near a flame. In this quiet room, the conqueror is being conquered, not by force, but by the sheer brilliance of a woman who sees the world in colors he never knew existed. Think of the silence between their words. A comfortable silence, filled with mutual respect. The oil lamps flicker low, casting long, dancing shadows of cat-headed goddesses against the marble walls. There is no rush here. No legions waiting for orders, no senate demanding answers. Only the ticking of the water clock, and the slow, deep rhythm of two people discovering a shared vision for the future. Feel your own breath syncing with that rhythm. Slow, steady, calm. You are safe in this sanctuary of history. Together, they embark on a journey up the Nile, on a royal barge that is a marvel of ancient engineering. Imagine yourself lying on a bed of linen on that very deck. The boat moves with a grace that is almost hypnotic. The giant sails, dyed in royal purple, catch the warm evening breeze with a soft, whoosh, whoosh sound. As the barge glides past the ancient temples of Luxor and Karnak, the stone giants look down in silence, witnessing a union that would change the course of human destiny. The water of the Nile ripples against the hull, a constant, soothing lullaby. Cleopatra points out the constellations to Caesar, naming them in the language of her ancestors. She shows him that power is most beautiful when it is used to build, to learn, and to understand. In these moments, the queen and the consul are not just rulers of empires, they are travelers in a timeless dream. As you drift closer to the edge of sleep, imagine the scent of the river at night. It is the scent of life itself, earthy, sweet, and ancient. The weight of the world's expectations has been lifted. For this brief window in time, there is only the peace of the Nile, the wisdom of the queen, and the rest of the consul. They are planning a new world, yes, but they are doing it with the patience of the river. No hurry. No tension. Just a slow, inevitable unfolding. The marble of Rome and the gold of Egypt are blending together in the moonlight, creating a legacy that will be whispered for thousands of years. You are part of that whisper now. A quiet echo in the halls of time. Your thoughts are like the petals of a lotus flower, closing slowly as the moon rises higher. One by one, the details of the story are fading into a soft, gray mist. Cleopatra and Caesar have found their rhythm. And now, you have found yours. The queen remains on her balcony, watching over her kingdom. The consul rests in the security of her wisdom. And you are drifting, floating, sinking into the deep, dark, and beautiful silence of the night. Safe. Still. Ancient. Sleep now, as the queen and the consul watch the stars for you. Now, let us allow the image of the Roman legions to fade into the background, as we return to the true heart of our story. Imagine the golden light of a setting sun, reflecting off the surface of the world's most ancient river. We are stepping into the years of Cleopatra's solo reign, the time when she stood alone as the sovereign of the Nile. Take a deep breath, and feel the warmth of the Egyptian sun, a gentle heat that radiates from the sand and the stone, slowly cooling as the evening shadows stretch across the land. Cleopatra was no longer just a player in the games of men. She was the living embodiment of the Nile itself. Can you hear the sound of the water? Not a roar, but a constant, rhythmic, low-frequency hum. It is the heartbeat of a nation. The river flows, as it has for thousands of years, bringing the life-giving silt that turns the desert into a garden. Cleopatra understood this rhythm better than anyone. She was not a queen who stayed hidden behind palace walls. She was a queen of the earth, a queen of the harvest. As you sink deeper into the soft support of your bed, imagine the peace of a kingdom that is finally at rest. The civil wars have ended. The strife is over. Cleopatra sits in her garden in Alexandria, overlooking the harbor. The air is filled with the scent of blooming jasmine and the sharp, clean smell of the salt sea. She is reading reports, not of battles, but of grain stores. Not of enemies, but of irrigation canals. In these quiet hours, she is the architect of a golden age. Think of the silence of the Egyptian fields at twilight. The farmers have finished their work, and the only sound is the distant, melodic lowing of cattle, and the soft rustle of the papyrus reeds in the breeze. Cleopatra was the one who ensured this peace. She managed the taxes, she stabilized the currency, she fed the hungry during the lean years. She was a mother to her people, a goddess who walked among them, speaking their language, feeling their pulse. Can you feel that stability? It is like the heavy foundations of a temple. Deep, unmoving, and secure. You are safe in this world she has built. Imagine her walking through the streets of Memphis, the ancient capital. The people do not look at her with fear, but with a quiet, respectful adoration. She is the restorer of the old ways, the one who honors the gods of the ancestors. She visits the temple of Ptah, where the air is thick with incense, a heavy, woody smell that calms the senses and slows the mind. The priests chant in low, resonant voices, a sound that seems to come from the very earth itself. Om. Hum, Om. The sovereignty of the Nile was not just about power, it was about harmony. Cleopatra worked to balance the Greek intellect of her heritage with the ancient soul of her kingdom. She was a bridge, and while she walked upon it, the world was in balance. Think of a scale, perfectly still. That is the energy of her reign. As you drift closer to sleep, imagine the royal barge once again, but this time it is quiet. Cleopatra is alone on the deck, moving slowly upriver toward the south. The only sound is the soft, rhythmic shh, shh, shh of the water against the hull. The stars above are so bright they seem to vibrate. Orion, Sirius, the celestial guides of the pharaohs. They are the same stars that watch over you tonight. Ancient, eternal, and profoundly peaceful. Cleopatra looks at the horizon and sees the silhouette of the pyramids. They are thousands of years old even in her time. They remind her that her life is but a moment in the long story of the Nile. This thought does not make her sad, it makes her calm. It reminds her that she is part of something much larger than herself. And so are you. You are a part of this long, flowing, peaceful history. Your worries are like the tiny grains of sand at the bottom of the river, being moved slowly, gently, away by the current. There is nothing you need to do. Nothing you need to fix. The queen has taken care of the kingdom. The river is full. The silos are overflowing. Feel your body becoming heavy, like the stone statues of the Nile gods. Sinking, settling, finding its place in the cool, dark earth. The sunlight has completely faded now. The world is bathed in the blue light of the moon. Alexandria is sleeping. Memphis is sleeping. The desert is sleeping. Cleopatra retires to her chambers. The silk sheets are cool and smooth. She closes her eyes, and the weight of the crown is replaced by the weight of a deep, restorative sleep. She trusts in the river. She trusts in the night. You can trust too. The sovereign of the Nile has given you permission to let go. The story will continue, but the work is done. The night is a vast, silent ocean, and you are floating on its surface. Breathe in the scent of the lotus. Breathe out the last of the day. Sleep now. In the heart of the Nile. Now, let us leave the familiar warmth of the Nile behind for a moment, and imagine the beginning of a grand, sweeping journey. We are traveling across the vast, blue expanse of the Mediterranean, moving toward the heart of the Roman Republic. Cleopatra is no longer a queen in hiding, she is a sovereign traveling in state, a vision of gold and power moving toward the city of marble. Can you hear the sound of the Roman sea? The waves are larger here, a deeper, more powerful, rhythmic, crush and retreat, crush and retreat. Cleopatra has arrived in Rome. But she does not stay in the crowded, noisy streets of the Forum. Instead, she is settled in Caesar's private villa, across the Tiber River. Close your eyes and imagine the gardens of that villa. They are lush, green, and filled with the scent of pine trees and blooming roses. The air is cooler here than in Alexandria, a soft, damp, Mediterranean breeze that rustles the leaves of the cypress trees. Shh, shh, shh. As you settle deeper into your pillows, feel the atmosphere of this Roman retreat. It is a place of quiet tension and immense beauty. Cleopatra sits in the shade of a marble portico, watching the city of Rome from a distance. She is a guest, yes, but she is also a sensation. The Roman people have never seen anything like her. She brings with her the luxury of the East, the wisdom of the pharaohs, and a style that makes the Roman senators both fascinated and afraid. Think of the contrast. Rome is a city of stone, of rigid laws, and of men in woolen togas. But inside Cleopatra's villa, it is a world of silk, of exotic perfumes, and of intellectual fire. She hosts scholars, poets, and politicians. She speaks to them of the solar calendar, explaining how the stars can measure time more accurately than their old lunar cycles. Can you hear the soft, melodic scratch of a stylus on a wax tablet? Even here, in the heart of Rome, she is teaching. She is influencing the very foundation of their world. Feel the stillness of a Roman afternoon. The sun is warm on the terracotta tiles. A small fountain in the courtyard splashes gently, a constant, crystal clear trickle. Plink, plop, plink. It is the only sound in the heat of the day. Cleopatra rests on a couch of ivory, her mind never stopping, always weaving the threads of her legacy into the fabric of the Roman state. She is here to secure her son's future. Caesar Ion, the boy who carries the blood of the Nile and the blood of Rome. When you think of her motherly gaze, feel a sense of protection and warmth. It is like a soft, heavy quilt being pulled up to your chin. She is a mother guarding her nest in a city of wolves. But for tonight, the wolves are quiet. The Senate is in recess. The markets are closing. The Roman night is beginning to fall, a deep, charcoal gray that settles over the 7 hills. From her balcony, Cleopatra can see the flickering lights of the city. It is a restless place, but here, in the garden across the river, there is only peace. Can you smell the damp earth of the gardens after a light rain? It is a grounding, peaceful scent. The Tiber flows by, a dark, silent ribbon, carrying the secrets of the city out to sea. Cleopatra watches the water and thinks of her Nile. They are different rivers, but they are connected by the same moon. As you drift further into relaxation, let the Roman world become a distant, blurry image. The politics, the whispers, the scandals, they all mean nothing now. There is only the cool night air, and the steady, slow rhythm of your own heart. You are a guest in this garden too. You are safe under the protection of Caesar's walls. The statues in the garden look like silent sentinels in the moonlight. They do not move. They do not speak. They only exist in a state of perfect, eternal rest. Try to find that same stillness in your own body. Your arms are heavy. Your legs are heavy. Your mind is becoming a quiet, dark garden. Cleopatra turns away from the city lights and walks back into her chambers. The sound of her sandals on the mosaic floor is a soft, rhythmic tap, tap, tap. She extinguishes the lamps, one by one. The room grows darker, and the silence grows deeper. She is a queen in a foreign land, but she is at home in her own brilliance. Think of the legacy she left in Rome. The statues of Isis, the new calendars, the introduction of Eastern grace. She changed Rome forever, just by being there. But tonight, she is tired. Tonight, she is just a woman seeking the solace of sleep. The Roman stars are watching over her. The same stars that watched over Alexandria. The same stars that watch over you. They tell you that you are part of a grand, beautiful, and peaceful design. Let yourself float on the dark waters of the Tiber, moving slowly away from the city, toward the sea of dreams. There is no more noise. There is no more history. Only the breath. Rome is sleeping. The queen is sleeping. And you are finally, beautifully, at rest. Sleep now, in the shadow of the marble city. Now, let us allow the garden of the villa to grow very, very still. We are entering a moment where the world seems to stop breathing, a moment of profound and sudden silence. It is the Ides of March. Close your eyes and imagine the city of Rome on this fateful morning. The air is unusually heavy, thick with a tension that no one can quite name. The sun is struggling to pierce through a layer of gray, low-hanging clouds. And in the heart of the city, at the theater of Pompey, a tragedy is about to unfold that will echo through the halls of time forever. But we are not in the Senate. We are with Cleopatra, back across the river, in the quiet safety of the villa. Can you feel the stillness of her rooms? The servants move like ghosts, their footsteps making no sound on the thick, woven rugs. The birds in the garden have stopped singing. Even the fountains seem to whisper in a lower tone. Cleopatra is waiting. She sits by a window, her hands resting in her lap, as still as a statue carved from diorite. She has felt a shift in the wind, a coldness that has nothing to do with the weather. When the news finally arrives, it does not come with a shout. It comes as a whisper. A single messenger, breathless, pale, bringing the word that Julius Caesar is gone. The pillar of her world has fallen. As you sink deeper into your pillows, feel the weight of that silence. It is the silence of a void. For a moment, the entire world of the Mediterranean holds its breath. The politics, the plans, the grand visions of an empire of the East and West, they have all dissolved into a mist. But in this moment of chaos, Cleopatra does not panic. Her mind, that brilliant, logical, ancient mind, becomes as clear as a mountain spring. She knows that the Rome that welcomed her is now a city of wolves. The shadows in the hallways are longer now, darker, and they hide daggers. She must leave. Not with fanfare, but with the quiet efficiency of a shadow. Can you hear the sound of the trunks being packed? The soft, muffled, metallic click of locks. The rustle of silk being folded into cedar chests. It is a rhythmic, purposeful sound. The escape from Rome is a journey through a twilight world. Imagine the royal party moving toward the coast in the dead of night. The carriage wheels are wrapped in leather to dampen their sound against the cobblestones. Thud, thud, thud. A dull, repetitive, hypnotic beat. Outside the window, the Italian countryside is a blur of dark cypress trees and silent villas. Cleopatra watches the Roman stars one last time, knowing she will never see them again with the same eyes. As you drift further into relaxation, feel the movement of the ship as it leaves the Italian shore. The Roman coast recedes into the darkness, becoming a thin, black line on the horizon. The Mediterranean is calm, a vast, dark, obsidian mirror. The ship glides through the water with a soft hiss, hiss, as the prow cuts through the waves. Cleopatra stands at the stern, looking back. She has lost an ally, a partner, a father for her child. But she has not lost her kingdom. As the ship moves toward the east, the air begins to change. The sharp, salty Roman air is slowly replaced by the warm, incense-scented, humid breeze of the approaching Levant. She is going home. Think of the relief of returning to the Nile. To a place where her name is a prayer, not a scandal. The journey back is a time of mourning, but also a time of deep, restorative reflection. She watches the moon wax and wane over the open sea. The rhythmic rising and falling of the tide becomes the rhythm of her own healing. The silence of the Ides was a tragedy, but it was also a turning point. It stripped away the illusions and left only the truth. Egypt must stand on its own. Cleopatra watches her son, Caesar Ion, sleeping in the cabin. He is the living bridge to a fallen giant. She covers him with a linen shawl, a gentle, protective movement. You are safe, the gesture says. We are going home. As you drift closer to sleep, let the boat carry you too. You are leaving the chaos of the city behind. You are leaving the noise and the daggers of the world far, far away. You are in the middle of a vast, peaceful sea moving toward the warmth of the sun. The water is deep. The stars are high. And the ship is steady. Can you hear the soft creak of the wooden masts? It is a comforting sound, like an old house settling for the night. The wind in the sails is a constant, low sigh. Cleopatra is at rest now, her mind already planning the next chapter, but her body allowing itself to be carried by the waves. The world has changed, but the sea remains the same. The stars remain the same. And you remain safe in the heart of this story. Rome is a dream that has ended. Egypt is a reality that is waiting. Feel your thoughts becoming like the wake of the ship, stretching out behind you, becoming thinner and thinner, until they disappear into the dark water. There is nothing ahead but the horizon. Nothing but the silence. The Ides are over. The silence is complete. And you are finally, beautifully, drifting away. Sleep now, as the ship sails toward the dawn. Now, let us leave the morning and the shadows of Rome far behind. We are moving into a scene of such breathtaking beauty and such sensory richness that it feels like a dream within a dream. Close your eyes and imagine the Cydnus River in Asia Minor. The year is 41 BCE. The water is clear and still, like a sheet of blue silk laid out under a warm, golden sun. And appearing on the horizon is something the world has never seen before and will never see again. The golden barge of Cleopatra. As you sink deeper into your bed, feel the air change. It is no longer just air. It is thick and sweet and heavy with the scent of 1,000 exotic things. Imagine the smell of rare incense, frankincense and myrrh, burning in silver braziers on the deck of the ship. The scent drifts across the water, reaching the shore before the ship even arrives. It is an olfactory lullaby, a fragrant cloud that wraps around your senses and tells your mind to let go. Breathe it in, slowly, deeply. Can you hear the music? Not a loud fanfare, but a soft, rhythmic, and enchanting melody. Flutes, harps, and lutes, playing in perfect harmony with the movement of the river. The sound is like a gentle breeze blowing through a set of wind chimes. And beneath the music, there is the most hypnotic sound of all. The oars. Imagine hundreds of oars made of solid silver, dipping into the water at exactly the same time. Dip, swirl, lift. Dip, swirl, lift. The silver makes a soft, metallic, chiming sound against the water, a rhythmic heartbeat that pulses through the air. Cleopatra is not just arriving, she is manifesting. She lies beneath a canopy of cloth of gold, dressed as the goddess Aphrodite. Imagine the texture of that space. The gold fabric shimmers in the sunlight, casting a warm, honey-colored glow over everything. She is surrounded by young boys dressed as cupids, who fan her with great, rhythmic, sweeps of ostrich feathers. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The air moving over her skin is cool, even in the heat of the afternoon. It is a scene of absolute, divine, stillness in the middle of a moving river. Think of the color of the sails. They are not the usual rough canvas, but the finest Tyrian purple silk. They billow in the wind with a soft, rustling sound, like the wings of a great bird. The purple is so deep, so rich, it looks like the color of the sky just before the stars come out. And as the barge glides toward the city of Tarsus, the crowds on the banks fall silent. They don't cheer. They simply watch, mesmerized by the sheer, impossible, beauty of the vision. Mark Antony, the Roman general who has called her here, is waiting on his tribunal in the city square. He is a man of action, a man of the camp, a man of loud voices and sharp steel. But as the scent of the incense reaches him, and as the silver oars flash in the sun, he finds himself alone. The crowds leave him to go to the river. Even the air seems to pull him toward the water. He is about to meet his destiny, not on a battlefield, but on a deck of cedar and gold. Feel your own thoughts becoming like that barge. Heavy with beauty, moving slowly, surely, toward a peaceful harbor. There is no effort in this movement. The river is doing all the work. The silver oars are just keeping the rhythm. You are drifting, floating, being carried by the music and the scent. Cleopatra invites Antony onto the ship for dinner. Imagine the transition from the bright afternoon to the soft, velvet evening. The barge is now lit by thousands of tiny oil lamps, hanging like stars from the rigging. They reflect in the water, doubling the light, creating a world made of gold and shadow. The meal is served on plates of solid gold, but the food is not the point. The point is the conversation. The voice. Cleopatra speaks, and her voice is more enchanting than the flutes. She weaves a spell of words around the Roman general, showing him a world where power is not a burden, but a celebration. Antony, who has spent his life in the harsh reality of Roman politics, feels like he is finally waking up in a paradise. He is no longer just a general. He is a man under a spell of intellect and grace. As you drift closer to sleep, imagine the barge being tied up at the dock for the night. The music fades to a low, humming vibration. The silver oars are pulled in, dripping with the dark water of the Cydnus. The incense smoke has settled into a low, comforting mist over the deck. Everything is still. Everything is perfect. You are on that barge too. Tucked away in a quiet corner, wrapped in the purple silk of the sails. The river is whispering against the wood. The lamps are being dimmed, one by one, until there is only the moonlight and the scent of roses. Cleopatra and Antony are talking in the shadows, their voices a distant, soothing blur. The history of the world is shifting again, but it is shifting in a way that feels like a lullaby. The golden barge is a sanctuary, a place where the worries of the world cannot reach. Feel your limbs becoming heavy as the silver oars. Your mind is as calm as the water in the harbor. There is nothing left to see, nothing left to hear. Only the scent, only the rhythm, only the peace. The barge is steady. The night is warm. And the journey is exactly where it needs to be. The gold is fading into the dark. The music is fading into the silence. And you are finally, beautifully, asleep on the river. Sleep now, as the golden barge carries you into the dream. Now, let us allow the golden barge to dock softly at the marble quays of Alexandria. We are stepping into a time of legendary luxury, but more than that, it is a time of a unique and profound connection. Cleopatra and Mark Antony have created something the world had never seen, a private society, a world within a world, which they called the inimitable livers. Close your eyes and imagine the palace at night, when the official duties of the day have faded, and the only light comes from the flickering bronze lamps and the vast, silver moon reflecting on the Mediterranean. As you sink deeper into your bed, let the atmosphere of Alexandria wrap around you like a cool, linen sheet. To be an inimitable liver meant to live a life that could not be copied, a life where every moment was treated as a work of art. But this wasn't just about the banquets or the wine. It was about a shared rhythm of existence. Imagine the two of them walking through the quiet streets of the city at midnight, dressed in the simple clothes of commoners, laughing softly as they blended into the shadows. No guards, no crowns, just two people exploring the mystery of the night. Can you hear the sounds of the palace after hours? The distant, muffled sound of a fountain splashing in a courtyard. Drip, ripple, drip. The soft rustle of palm fronds in the sea breeze. In this space, the pressure of ruling two empires is lifted. They are not icons, they are partners. Think of the intellectual games they played, the poetry they recited to each other under the stars, the way they challenged each other's minds until the early hours of the morning. It was a partnership of power, yes, but it was fueled by a deep, quiet, intellectual intimacy. Feel your own body finding its own inimitable rhythm. A slow, steady, peaceful flow. You are leaving the copyable world behind, the world of schedules and demands. You are entering your own private society of rest. Imagine the banquets, not as loud or chaotic events, but as sensory masterpieces. The tables are made of citrus wood, smooth and fragrant. The air is filled with the scent of roasted nuts, honey-glazed figs, and the earthy, rich aroma of vintage wines. But even in the middle of a feast, there is a sense of calm. Soft music from a lyre drifts through the hall, the notes light and airy, like dust motes dancing in a beam of light. Each note is a gentle reminder to stay in the present moment. Antony, the man of Roman iron, has become soft in the best way. He has learned to appreciate the nuances of Egyptian philosophy, the beauty of a well-turned phrase, the peace of a sunset over the Pharos. Cleopatra has found someone who finally matches her energy, someone who doesn't try to dim her light, but adds his own fire to it. Together, they are building a dream of an Eastern empire, a world where the old gods and the new laws live in harmony. As you drift closer to sleep, imagine the quiet moments after the guests have left. The great halls are empty, the torches are burning low, leaving only a warm, amber glow. Cleopatra and Antony sit on a balcony overlooking the sea. They don't need to speak. The silence between them is full, heavy, and comforting. It is the silence of two souls who have found their harbor. Think of the trust it takes to be inimitable. To stop performing for the world and simply be. Let yourself be now. You don't need to perform. You don't need to plan. You are simply a witness to this ancient peace. The Mediterranean is a dark, vast mirror below them. The lighthouse in the distance pulses like a slow, rhythmic breath. On and off. On and off. Feel the weight of your limbs, as heavy and solid as the marble columns of Alexandria. Your mind is like the great library at night, quiet, dark, and filled with beautiful stories that are tucked away for another time. The Society of Inimitable Livers is a society of two, and for tonight, you are a guest in their world of stillness. The night air is cool and sweet. It carries the scent of the sea and the desert, a perfect balance. Just like the balance in your own breath. Cleopatra leans her head back and watches the stars move across the sky. She knows the world is changing, that Rome is watching, that a storm is gathering on the horizon. But here, in this inimitable moment, there is only the peace of the partner. There is only the stillness of the night. Let that peace be yours. The history books will talk about the wars and the tragedy, but they weren't there for the quiet moments. They didn't see the way the moonlight hit the water. They didn't hear the soft, shared laughter in the dark. But you are here. You are feeling it. The story is at its most beautiful when it is at its most still. The world is vast, and the empires are many, but the inimitable life is lived in the heart. You are drifting now, further away from the palaces, further away from the history. You are moving into the deep, dark, and beautiful ocean of sleep. The inimitable livers have found their rest. And now, so have you. Safe. Still. Inimitable. Sleep now, in the luxury of the ancient night. Now, let us feel the air grow just a little more still, as if the world is holding its breath. The long, golden summer of Alexandria is beginning to shift. We are moving into a time of gathering clouds, a period where the bright, vibrant colors of the inimitable rivers begin to deepen into the grays and blues of a coming storm. Close your eyes and imagine the marble halls of Rome, thousands of miles away. The air there is cold, sharp, and filled with the biting sound of iron on stone. A young man named Octavian is watching. His eyes are not the warm, expressive eyes of Antony, but the cold, calculating eyes of a statue. He is waiting. As you sink deeper into the softness of your bed, feel the contrast between the two worlds. In Alexandria, there is music, perfume, and the warmth of the sun. In Rome, there is a gathering of whispers, a slow and steady construction of a narrative. Octavian is not preparing his legions yet. He is preparing his words. Imagine the sound of a scribe's pen, scratching, 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 across dry parchment in a dimly lit room. Scritch, scritch, scritch. He is writing a story that will paint Cleopatra not as a queen, but as an enchantress, a foreign threat who has stolen a Roman hero's mind. Can you hear the low, rhythmic murmur of the Roman crowds? They are listening to the rumors. They are being told that their beloved Antony has forgotten his home, that he has traded his Roman dignity for Egyptian silk. The clouds are not made of rain, but of propaganda. They are drifting across the Mediterranean, casting long, dark shadows over the sunny streets of Alexandria. Cleopatra feels the change in the atmosphere. She is a master of the wind, and she knows when the season is turning. Take a deep breath, and let the tension of the coming conflict dissolve into the rhythm of the story. Even as the clouds gather, there is a profound peace in the preparation. Imagine Cleopatra on her balcony at night. The Mediterranean is no longer a bright turquoise, it is a deep, bruised purple. The wind is picking up, rustling the heavy velvet curtains with a soft hiss, hiss, hiss. She is not afraid. She is focused. Her mind is like the lighthouse, standing firm against the approaching fog. She is calculating the ships, the grain, the alliances. She knows that the peace she has built is a fragile thing, like a glass ornament, beautiful but easily shattered. Think of the silence in the palace libraries now. The scholars are no longer debating philosophy, they are studying maps. The soft rustle of papyrus is now the sound of strategy. But even in this, there is a sleepy, hypnotic quality. The world is a chessboard, and the moves are being made in slow motion. Octavian in the west. Antony and Cleopatra in the east. Two worlds, moving slowly toward an inevitable collision. Feel your limbs becoming heavy, as if you are weighted down by the importance of this moment. You are a witness to the turning of the tide. The music in the palace has changed. The flutes are lower, the drums are more distant, a steady, low-frequency thrum that vibrates in the floorboards. Thump, thump, thump. It is the sound of a heart beating in anticipation. Antony is torn. He looks toward the west and sees his past. He looks at Cleopatra and sees his soul. The internal storm is just as fierce as the one gathering in Rome. Imagine them sitting together in the gardens, the sky above them filled with heavy, dark clouds that swallow the stars. They don't speak of the war. They speak of the dream. They speak of the children who sleep in the rooms above them, unaware of the shadows stretching toward their beds. As you drift closer to sleep, imagine the first few drops of rain beginning to fall. Tap, tap, plink. They hit the marble leaves of the statues. They cool the dusty streets of the city. The rain is not a threat, it is a cleansing. It is the earth's way of preparing for what is to come. The air is thick with the scent of wet stone and ozone. It is a grounding, earthy smell that pulls you deeper into the darkness. The gathering clouds are a blanket over the world. They tuck the cities in. They silence the birds. They bring a stillness that is both heavy and comforting. You are safe under this canopy of clouds. The storm is still far away, a distant rumble on the horizon, like the sound of a cat purring in another room. Cleopatra closes her eyes and listens to the rain. She is at peace with the storm. She has navigated the rough waters before, and she will do it again. For tonight, the clouds are just a veil, protecting her kingdom from the prying eyes of the world. Let your thoughts become like those clouds. Soft, formless, drifting. They are covering the sharp edges of your day. They are blurring the lines of your worries. There is only the gray, the blue, and the silver of the rain. The world is waiting for the thunder, but it has not come yet. There is only the quiet, the damp, and the dark. The history of the world is pausing, just for a moment, to let the actors breathe. You can breathe too. The clouds are heavy. The night is deep. And the harbor is still. Sleep now, as the rain washes the marble clean. The storm will wait for the morning. Tonight, there is only the peace of the gathering clouds. Safe. Still. Waiting. Now, let us move away from the rain-slicked streets of the city and find ourselves on the quiet, open waters of the Ionian Sea. It is the late summer of 31 BCE. We are standing on the edge of a moment that will define the world, but for now, there is only a profound, breathtaking stillness. This is the calm before the storm, the quiet pause before the sails are unfurled at Actium. Close your eyes and imagine the early morning mist, rising from the sea like a soft, white veil. The water is so flat, so glassy, it looks like a mirror of silver, reflecting the pale, pink light of the approaching dawn. As you sink deeper into your bed, let the rhythm of the waves become your own rhythm. There is no crashing here. Only the softest, almost invisible, lap, lap, lap against the wooden hulls of hundreds of ships. Imagine the scale of it. Thousands of men, hundreds of vessels, all gathered in this one bay, and yet it is silent. The only sound is the occasional creak of a thick, hemp rope, stretching under the weight of a mast. Irk. A slow, steady, comforting sound of a ship at rest. Cleopatra is on her flagship, the Antonia. It is a mountain of cedar and gold, sitting regally upon the water. Think of her standing on the high deck, looking out over the fleet. The air is cool, damp with the morning dew. She can see the campfires of Octavian's army on the distant shore, tiny, flickering dots of orange in the gray mist. But here, on the water, she is in her element. The sea does not take sides. The sea only knows the wind and the tide. Take a deep breath and feel that watery peace. It is a heavy, cool, and ancient stillness. Cleopatra is not wearing her crown today. She is wearing a simple linen robe, the fabric soft against her skin. She watches the sailors as they sleep on the decks, their breathing a collective, rhythmic sigh. She knows that in a few hours, the air will be filled with the sound of trumpets and the clash of bronze. But for this moment, they are just men, dreaming of their homes in the delta or the hills of Italy. She holds this piece for them, a silent guardian of their final rest before the battle. Can you hear the sound of the mist? It is a sound of muffled silence. It wraps around the ships, hiding the sharp prows and the predatory rams. It turns the warships into ghosts. In this mist, there is no Rome. There is no Egypt. There is only the sea. Cleopatra closes her eyes and listens to the heartbeat of the ocean. It is slow. It is deep. It is eternal. Thump, thump, thump. Feel your own heartbeat slowing down to match it. Your limbs are becoming like the anchors, heavy, solid, sinking through the clear, dark water to rest on the sandy floor below. You are moored in this moment of perfect calm. Think of the strategy in her mind. It is like a web of silk, delicate but incredibly strong. She is not thinking of the violence, she is thinking of the wind. She knows that if the breeze shifts, if the afternoon gale rises from the south, her fast, nimble Egyptian ships can slip through the Roman line. She is a daughter of the sea, and she trusts the water more than she trusts the iron of Rome. The sun is beginning to climb higher now, a pale, lemon-yellow disk behind the clouds. The mist is starting to thin, revealing the massive prows of Antony's heavy galleys. But the calm remains. Imagine the smell of the sea at this hour. It is the scent of salt, of wet wood, and of the deep, cold mysteries that lie beneath the surface. It is a clean, bracing, and grounding aroma that clears your mind of all its clutter. As you drift closer to sleep, imagine the transition from the morning to the midday. The water begins to sparkle, millions of tiny, dancing diamonds of light. Antony comes to the deck to stand beside her. He is armored, but his helmet is off. They look at each other in the silence. Everything that needs to be said has already been spoken in the gardens of Alexandria. Now, there is only the waiting. The calm before Actium is a sacred space. It is the moment when the past and the future are perfectly balanced. Like a coin standing on its edge. It is a moment of pure, absolute presence. Try to find that same presence in your own body. You are not in the past. You are not in the future. You are here, in the quiet, in the mist, in the story. The world is vast, and the battles are many, but this moment of stillness belongs only to you. The trumpets are still silent. The sails are still furled. The sea is waiting for the queen to move. But Cleopatra is not moving yet. She is savoring the silence. She is breathing in the peace of the Ionian blue. Let that blue fill your mind. A deep, dark, restorative blue. It is the color of the deep ocean. It is the color of the night sky. It is the color of rest. You are drifting now, away from the flagship, away from the fleet. You are floating out toward the open sea, where the water is deep and the silence is eternal. The ships are becoming smaller and smaller, silhouettes against the morning sun, until they are just specks on the horizon. The calm is complete. The world is at rest. And the battle is just a distant, fading dream. Cleopatra has given the world a moment of silence. And you have accepted it. Sleep now, in the cradle of the sea. The water is steady. The night is coming. And you are finally, beautifully, still. Safe. Still. Ancient. Now, let the echoes of the sea and the clash of bronze fade into a distant, muffled memory. We are returning to Alexandria, but the city feels different now. It is the twilight of an empire, and the air is heavy with the scent of incense and the coming of the night. Imagine the royal quarter, where the marble steps are cool under the moonlight. Cleopatra has returned, and she is moving toward her final, most sacred sanctuary. Not a palace of life, but a monument of eternity. Her tomb. As you sink deeper into your bed, feel the profound stillness of this place. The tomb is a massive structure of limestone and granite, standing near the Temple of Isis. It is a place of thick walls and deep shadows, where the noise of the world, the rumors of Octavian's approach, and the chaos of the streets cannot penetrate. Entering here is like stepping into a dream made of stone. Shh, shh, shh. The silence is heavy, supportive, and ancient. Cleopatra has brought her treasures here. Imagine the room filled with the soft, dull glint of gold. Chests of ebony and ivory, filled with jewels that have seen the rise and fall of dynasties. But she is not here for the wealth. She is here for the peace. Can you hear the sound of the heavy bronze doors closing? A slow, deep, resonant thrum. It is the sound of a world being shut out. Inside, the air is still, smelling of cedar wood and dried lotus blossoms. Take a deep breath and feel that sanctuary wrap around you. It is a cool, dark, and safe embrace. Cleopatra sits on a low couch, surrounded by her most faithful attendants, Iras and Charmian. Their movements are slow, rhythmic, and silent. They light the small oil lamps, one by one. Each tiny flame is a warm, golden in the darkness. The shadows on the walls are long and gentle, dancing slowly to a music that only the heart can hear. This is not a place of defeat, it is a place of ultimate control. Cleopatra is the architect of her own ending, and there is a quiet, majestic peace in that. Feel your own body becoming like the stone walls of the tomb. Solid. Cool. Unmoving. The worries of the day are like the dust outside, blown away by the desert wind. Here, in the heart of the sanctuary, you are protected. You are unreachable. Think of the texture of the linen robes she wears. It is the finest weave, light as a whisper, white as the desert moon. As she moves, the fabric makes a soft, rustling sound, like the wind through a field of dry wheat. SSHHH. SSSSHHH. It is a comforting, repetitive lullaby. She spends her hours in reflection, looking back at the long river of her life. The library, the rug, the Nile, the Roman gardens. Each memory is a bead on a string, and she is counting them in the dark. Can you hear the distant sound of the city? It is a blurred, low-frequency hum, like a beehive far away. It doesn't matter anymore. The empires of men are temporary, but the silence of the tomb is eternal. Cleopatra is preparing herself to become a myth. She knows that her body will fail, but her story, her spirit, will remain as long as the stars are in the sky. As you drift closer to sleep, imagine the transition from the day to the night inside the stone walls. The temperature remains the same, perfectly cool, perfectly constant. The light from the lamps is soft, blurring the edges of the room until the walls seem to disappear. You are floating in a space of pure, dark comfort. Think of her son, Caesarion, sent away to safety. Her heart is at rest knowing he is moving toward the sun. She is alone with her legacy now. She looks at the statues of the gods that line the room. Isis, with her wings spread wide. Osiris, the lord of the silence. They are her companions in this final, beautiful retreat. Feel your limbs sinking into the mattress, as if you are being tucked into a sarcophagus of soft, warm velvet. It is a place of total surrender. Surrender to the night. Surrender to the history. Surrender to the dream. The retreat to the tomb is the ultimate act of sovereignty. It is the queen reclaiming her soul from the world. And as we linger here, in the quiet, in the dark, you can do the same. Reclaim your peace. Reclaim your stillness. The world is outside. The silence is inside. The candles are burning low, the wax dripping in slow, rhythmic, crystal drops. The air is getting heavier, more peaceful, more profound. Cleopatra closes her eyes and breathes in the scent of eternity. The tomb is steady. The night is eternal. And you are finally, beautifully, home. Safe. Still. Eternal. Sleep now, in the sanctuary of the Queen. Now, let the weight of the world settle into a deep, profound stillness. We are standing at the threshold of the final act, in the very heart of the tomb, where the air is cool, and the golden light of the lamps is beginning to grow soft and dim. This is the moment where the legend meets the truth. Cleopatra is no longer a player in a game of empires. She is a woman making the ultimate choice, a choice of dignity, of power, and of eternal peace. Close your eyes and imagine the absolute silence of this stone chamber. The walls of granite are thick, standing as a barrier between the chaos of the Roman conquest and the sacred stillness of the Queen's final hours. As you sink deeper into the soft embrace of your bed, feel the atmosphere of this room. It is not a place of sadness, but a place of profound readiness. Cleopatra sits upon a throne of gold, dressed in her full royal regalia. She wears the robes of the goddess Isis, fine, white linen that seems to glow in the half-light. Her crown, the vulture and the cobra, rests upon her brow, a final, heavy, and majestic symbol of her 3,000-year-old lineage. Can you hear the sound of her breath? It is slow. It is rhythmic. It is the breath of someone who has finally found their center. In and out. Just like yours. Imagine the small basket that has been brought to her. It is filled with ripe, purple figs. Their scent sweet and earthy in the cool air. But hidden beneath the leaves, in the dark, cool spaces between the fruit, lies the instrument of her choice. A creature of the earth. A messenger of the gods. The ASP. In the ancient traditions of her people, the bite of the cobra was not a death, it was a transformation. It was a key that unlocked the door to the fields of reeds, where the sun never sets and the river never runs dry. Take a deep breath, and feel the courage in that silence. It is a quiet courage. A steady flame. Octavian's messengers are at the door, their voices a distant, muffled, and unimportant noise against the heavy bronze. But inside, Cleopatra is already far away. She is looking at her hands, the hands that held the scrolls of the great library, the hands that directed the flow of the Nile, the hands that commanded the hearts of the most powerful men in Rome. She is ready to let them go. She is ready to trade the heavy scepter for the light of the stars. Can you feel the texture of the moment? The smoothness of the marble floor, the coolness of the linen, the faint, lingering scent of frankincense. Cleopatra reaches into the basket. Her movement is slow, deliberate, and graceful. There is no fear here. Fear belongs to the living, to those who still struggle. Cleopatra has stopped struggling. She has chosen her path, and she is walking it with the poise of a goddess. Think of the relief of making a final decision. The way the tension leaves the shoulders. The way the mind stops its frantic spinning and becomes a calm, clear pool of water. As the small creature makes its mark, Cleopatra feels a wave of warmth spreading through her, like the first rays of the sun touching the sand at dawn. It is a transition. A gentle, slow, and inevitable unfolding into history. As you drift closer to sleep, imagine the transition from the Queen of Egypt to the myth of Cleopatra. She leans back upon her throne, her eyes closing slowly, as if she is simply drifting off into a long-awaited rest. Her faithful attendants, Iris and Charmian, move around her like shadows. They adjust her crown, they straighten her robes, ensuring that their queen remains perfect for eternity. Was this well done? A Roman guard will later ask. And Charmian will answer. Extremely well done, and as became the descendant of so many kings. Feel your own limbs becoming heavy as the gold on her throne. You are drifting away from the chamber, away from the conflict, away from the body. You are becoming part of the story itself. A story that has no end. The walls of the tomb are no longer stone, they are made of memory, and memory has no weight. Can you hear the sound of the silence deepening? It is a thick, velvet, and protective silence. The lamps are flickering out, one by one, leaving only the moonlight that spills through a high, narrow window. The silver light touches the floor, tracing the path she took. The world of Rome is loud and hungry, but it cannot touch her now. She has slipped through their fingers like water, returning to the source of all things. Cleopatra has made her choice. She has refused to be a trophy in a Roman triumph. She has refused to be a footnote in another man's history. She has chosen to be the author of her own legend. And as she sleeps, the entire history of the pharaohs sleeps with her. You are safe in this legend. You are tucked away in the quietest corner of time. The choice of a queen was a choice for peace, and that peace is now yours to share. The journey is almost over. The river is merging with the sea. The darkness of the tomb is not scary, it is a cradle. It is the darkness of the earth before the seed sprouts. It is the darkness of the night before the stars appear. Cleopatra is at rest. The dynasty is at rest. And you are finally, beautifully, at peace with the choice. The choice to let go. The choice to rest. The choice to be still. Sleep now, as the queen becomes a star. The night is yours. The silence is yours. Safe. Still. Sovereign. Now, let us allow the heavy bronze doors of the tomb to fade into the soft, gray mist of the past. We are standing on the banks of the Nile for one final time, witnessing the closing of a door that had been open for 3,000 years. The sun is beginning its final descent over the western horizon, the great Saharan sands. It is a deep, burning orange, melting into a bruised violet, as the last of the pharaohs enters the stars. Can you feel the weight of this sunset? It is not the weight of sadness, but the weight of a long, long day finally coming to an end. The era of the god kings, the builders of pyramids, the speakers of the sacred tongue, is drawing its final, peaceful breath. As you sink deeper into the stillness of your room, imagine the ripples on the water of the Nile. They move in a slow, rhythmic pattern, reflecting the dying light. Lapping, whispering, receding. For 3 millennia, this river saw the rise and fall of dynasties, and tonight, it flows just the same. It does not care for the arrival of Rome. It only knows the cycle of the seasons, the rising of the dog star Sirius, and the eternal flow toward the sea. Cleopatra's heart has stopped, but the heartbeat of Egypt continues in the water, a slow, steady, and ancient pulse. Think of the temples across the land, from the delta to the high cliffs of Abu Simbel. The priests are performing their final rituals in the dark. The scent of incense, thousands of years of tradition distilled into a single puff of blue smoke, hangs heavy in the air. They are extinguishing the sacred fires, not in defeat, but in completion. The gods of Egypt. Horus with the falcon head. Anubis the guardian of the path. Isis the mother of magic, they are receding back into the shadows of the sanctuary. They are becoming stories. They are becoming myths. Take a deep breath and feel that ancient silence. It is a silence that has been waiting for this moment since the first stone of the Great Pyramid was laid. Imagine the Roman soldiers walking through the streets of Alexandria. Their iron boots sound harsh against the marble, a metallic, intrusive rhythm. But even they find themselves speaking in whispers. There is an energy in the air that they cannot conquer, a presence that lingers in the colonnades and the libraries. They may have taken the land, but they cannot take the spirit of the pharaohs. That spirit has dissolved into the very dust of the earth. It is in the wind that blows across the desert. It is in the silt at the bottom of the river. It is untouchable. Feel your own body becoming as still as a statue in a forgotten temple. You are a witness to the end of an age. The sun has slipped below the horizon now, leaving only a thin sliver of gold on the edge of the world. The stars are beginning to appear, one by one, the same stars that guided the first pharaoh, Narmer, 5,000 years ago. They are cold, distant, and infinitely peaceful. They remind us that everything has its season, and that there is a beauty in the sunset, just as there is a beauty in the dawn. Cleopatra was the final candle, burning bright and fierce until the very end. And now, the candle has been snuffed out, leaving the world in a soft, velvet, and restorative darkness. The transition is complete. Egypt is no longer a kingdom of the living, it is a kingdom of the mind. As you drift closer to sleep, imagine the papyrus reeds along the riverbank, swaying in the night breeze. SSHHH. SSSSHHH. SSSSHHH. They are whispering the names of the dead kings, names that are being carried away by the wind into the great silence. You are safe in this darkness. The history of the pharaohs is no longer a burden of dates and wars, it is a tapestry of dreams. You can feel the threads of that tapestry wrapping around you, soft, warm, and protective. The lions of the desert are quiet. The hawks of the sky are at rest. The great stone sphinx stares into the night, its mystery safe for another eternity. Think of the peace of a world that no longer needs to strive. The pyramids have been built. The temples have been carved. The stories have been told. There is nothing left to do but sleep. Your mind is like the great library after the lights have been dimmed. Rows and rows of knowledge, tucked away in the shadows, silent, still, and beautiful. The sun has set on the pharaohs, but the moonlight is here to stay. It turns the Nile into a ribbon of silver. It turns the sand into a sea of white. It turns your room into a sanctuary of rest. Cleopatra is at peace. Antony is at peace. The 3,000 years of the pharaohs are at peace. And you are the final part of that peace. Let the history fade. Let the names disappear. Let the images of gold and marble dissolve into the soft, gray nothingness of a dream. You are drifting now, further than the Roman ships, further than the desert dunes. You are moving into the space between the stars, where time does not exist. The river is silent. The sun is gone. The pharaohs are sleeping. And you are finally, beautifully, and eternally at rest. The night is yours. The silence is yours. The sunset is complete. Safe. Still. Eternal. Sleep now, as the Nile flows into the sea of your dreams. Now, let the world of stone and sand dissolve completely as we lift our gaze from the darkened banks of the Nile toward the vast, infinite, and velvet canopy of the night sky. We have reached the final chapter of our journey, the moment where history transforms into myth, and where a queen's life becomes a legacy written in the stars. Imagine the deep, midnight blue of the Egyptian desert sky, a blue so profound it feels as though you are looking into the heart of the universe itself. The air is cold, crisp, and perfectly still. Every breath you take is clean, light, and carries the faint, distant scent of starlight and eternity. As you settle into the final, deepest layer of your rest, feel the weight of your body becoming one with the earth. You are grounded, safe, and unmoving. But your mind is as light as a feather, drifting upward, leaving the palaces and the ruins far below. Cleopatra is no longer a name in a book, she is a constellation. She is the light that guides the traveler in the dark. Can you see the stars? They are pulsing with a slow, rhythmic, silver light. On and off. On and off. Like the blinking of a celestial eye, watching over the world as it sleeps. For 2,000 years, the world has whispered her name. They have told stories of her beauty, her power, and her tragic end. But here, in the silence of the stars, those stories don't matter. What remains is the essence of a woman who dared to imagine a world without limits. A woman who spoke the languages of the earth and reached for the wisdom of the heavens. Think of her legacy as a soft, glowing trail of stardust, stretching across the centuries, connecting the ancient world to the world we inhabit tonight. Take a deep breath and feel the infinity of that connection. It is a peaceful, quiet, and endless thread. The pharaohs believed that their souls would travel to the North Star, the place of the imperishables. Imagine Cleopatra arriving there, among the stars that never set, the stars that never tire. She is at home in the constellation of Isis, her spirit woven into the fabric of the cosmos. She is the protector of the night, the guardian of those who seek rest. Can you hear the music of the spheres? It is not a sound you hear with your ears, but a vibration you feel in your soul. A low, humming, steady, and comforting frequency. Hum. Your mind is now a mirror, reflecting the vastness of the galaxy. There are no more borders here. No Rome, no Egypt, no conflict. Only the great, dark, and beautiful ocean of space. Cleopatra's legacy is the reminder that we are all made of this same stardust. That our lives, though they seem like brief flickers, are part of a fire that never goes out. Feel the warmth of that thought. It is like a soft, invisible blanket, keeping you warm in the vastness of the night. As you drift closer to the final threshold of sleep, imagine the Nile one last time, but from a great height. It looks like a silver thread, a vein of light on the dark face of the earth. It is still flowing. It will always be flowing. And just as the river finds the sea, your thoughts are finding the deep, dark, and silent ocean of your dreams. The history has been told. The queen has been honored. The legacy is secure. Can you see the Milky Way? A river of stars flowing across the sky. It is the celestial Nile. Follow its path with your eyes, slowly, drifting, moving with the current of the light. There is no effort. There is no destination. There is only the flow. Cleopatra is there, walking along those silver banks, her footsteps making ripples in the stardust. SSHHH. SSSSHHH. SSSSHHH. Feel your eyelids becoming as heavy as the stone lids of an ancient sarcophagus, but your spirit as free as the desert wind. You are letting go of the physical world. You are letting go of the name, the time, and the place. You are becoming part of the legacy in the stars. A quiet light in a quiet universe. The history books are closed. The lamps in the library have been extinguished. The desert is silent. Only the stars remain. They are the silent witnesses to all that has been and all that will be. And they are telling you that it is time. Time to rest. Time to dream. Time to be still. The sovereign of the Nile has found her place in the heavens. And you have found your place in the peace of the night. The journey is complete. The circle is closed. Breathe in the silver light of the moon. Breathe out the last shadows of the world. The legacy is eternal. The night is infinite. And you are finally, beautifully, and forever at rest. The stars are watching over you. The queen is watching over you. The silence is holding you. Safe. Still. Eternal. Sleep now, among the stars. Now, let the last flickering torch of history fade away, leaving us in the most perfect, most absolute, and most beautiful darkness. We have traveled through the corridors of power, across the silver waters of the Nile, and into the very heart of a legend. But now, our journey has reached its final destination. It is the deep, silent hour of the night, where the sun is a distant memory, and the world is bathed in the cool, blue glow of the Egyptian moon. This is the hour of the seeker. This is the hour of the dreamer. Close your eyes and imagine the great Sphinx, sitting in the silver sand, its stone face illuminated by a moon so bright, it feels like a second sun, but a sun of ice and peace. As you sink into the final, heaviest layer of your rest, feel the silence of the desert. It is not a hollow silence, but a full, rich, and resonant quiet. It is the sound of 3,000 years of history finally going to sleep. Imagine the moonlight touching the peaks of the pyramids, turning the rough limestone into shimmering, white marble. The air is completely still. No wind, no rustle of reeds, no whisper of ghosts. Just the steady, slow rhythm of the universe breathing in unison with you. Take a deep breath, a long, slow breath of that moonlit air. Feel it cooling your chest, calming your mind, and settling your soul. Cleopatra has found her rest. The Roman legions have long since turned to dust. The palaces have crumbled into the sand. But the moonlight remains. It is the same moonlight that fell upon her barge in Tarsus. It is the same moonlight that guided her boat through the harbor of Alexandria. And tonight, it is falling across your room, a gentle, silver curtain, protecting you from the noise of the modern world. You are tucked away in a fold of time, a place where nothing can reach you, and nothing is expected of you. Can you feel the weight of your body becoming like the ancient stone? Solid, enduring, and profoundly at peace. Your mind is no longer a place of questions or plans. It is a moonlit courtyard, empty and serene. The white light reflects off the marble floor, creating a space of pure, radiant calm. The sound of the silence is like a soft, constant hum, the background frequency of the night itself. Think of the Nile, far away, moving in the dark. It is a ribbon of liquid moonstone. It doesn't need to hurry to the sea. It has all the time in the world. And so do you. There is no tomorrow yet. There is only this moment of silver and shadow. Cleopatra is a shadow now, but a beautiful one. She is the whisper in the wind, the glimmer on the water, the secret in the sand. She has become part of the night, and you are her guest. As you drift closer to the ultimate threshold of sleep, imagine the moon rising higher and higher, until it is directly above you. It is a great, glowing pearl in a sea of black velvet. It is pulling the tide of your thoughts away from the shore, carrying them out into the deep, dark, and quiet ocean of the subconscious. You are floating now. You are weightless. You are part of the moonlight itself. Can you feel the coolness of the linen? It is like the touch of a cloud. Your bed is a sanctuary, a tomb of rest, a palace of dreams. The history of the pharaohs was a story of gold and fire, but it ends here, in the blue and the silver. It ends in the rest that follows the struggle. It ends in the silence that follows the song. Cleopatra has closed the book. The ink is dry. The story is perfect. And now, you are closing your own book. The day is done. The efforts are over. Your only task now, your only duty, is to rest. To rest in the moonlight. To rest in the history. To rest in the peace of the Nile. The stars are fading into the glow of the moon. The world is becoming a soft, gray blur. You are sinking through layers of history, layers of memory, layers of time. Further and further down, into the warm, dark, and welcoming earth. The pharaohs are sleeping. The desert is sleeping. The moon is watching. And you are finally, beautifully, and eternally asleep. Safe. Still. Ancient. Rest now. In the moonlight. Rest now. In the dream. Good night. Sovereign of the night. Good night.